Hello everyone, and welcome to ButteredGaming. I'm ButteredToast III, and today again, I'm not going to be doing any gaming. I know, it's a terrible thing. But today I'm going to be doing the Java for Beginners tutorial again. And today's episode is kind of based on objects and object creation, and I'll let you know what all that is in a minute. So I've gone ahead and opened Eclipse up, and I've set up this little basic program. As you can see, there's nothing really that you haven't seen. There's nothing you haven't seen before actually at all. You'll notice I called it objects just based on the title of the episode, you know. And as always, I will have the source code from this video up on butteredgaming.com/source. Actually, I can go ahead and add that up here if I feel like it. You can, hold on, view or download this code at butteredgaming.com/source. There you go. Alright, so there's that. One thing before I get into objects and their creation that I wanted to tell you about is that, I should have said these couple things before, but one thing you want to look at is you want to notice that every single thing in Java pretty much is case sensitive. So as you can see, these are all lowercase, and if I change this public to uppercase, it's going to yell at me. See that? So you just want to be careful with that. Everything is indeed case sensitive. Public static void main. String even has to be capitalized, as you'll see there. So I'm going to go ahead and write that in actually real quick since I talked about it. Everything in Java is case sensitive. Public the public keyword, here we can go, for example, the public keyword must be lowercase, and the string variable type must be capitalized. There you go. And we'll just leave it at that. So another thing I wanted to talk to you about is indentation. You'll notice that I have indentation on here. And Java is not really too fussy with indentation. I think I mentioned it before, but Java pretty much ignores white space. So even if I had this like back here, Java wouldn't even care, but it makes it easier for you, number one, and if anyone's actually looking at your code later, it makes it easier for them. Just like the comments. The comments are basically for both you and anyone that's looking at your code later. So I'll just go ahead and put that in as a comment. Indentation doesn't really make a difference, but it makes it easier for you and anyone else viewing your code to read it. So there's that. Easy enough. But you'll notice I basically have it where indentation starts. You know, I told you about the brackets, how it starts and ends a block of code. Everything within a set of brackets is indented. As you can see, everything here is indented above this kind of two brackets, making a block there. And then you'll notice also that I have this set of brackets here, and that everything in this set of brackets is indeed indented again. So it just makes it easier to tell where blocks of code start and stop, and you know, it just makes it easier. Maybe if I go ahead and there we go. There you go. So there it is. And all right, so let's go ahead and get on to objects, classes, everything like that. So one thing you'll want to kind of utilize is classes and objects. A class is basically the code that will kind of define an object. So as you can see, this is indeed a class, but we're not going to be making an object out of that. But just to show you, this is a class, and if I was going to make an object out of it, this would kind of identify what's going to be in that object. So I just wanted to show you, here is the scanner class, and well, kind of. This is the API for the scanner class. So as you'll notice, it's in the java.util.scanner, and you can utilize things like this here while you're using this class. So basically, a class identifies what's going to be in an object. A class is not actually, you're using an object to make an instance of a class. Now that is kind of an abstract idea, but what you can think of it as is a class being kind of a mold, and the object kind of the product that you get when you pour in the glass or the plastic or whatever that you're pouring into the mold. One of the very popular classes, that objects that are created, is a scanner object, and this can be used to take an input from the user. So you have to tell the compiler to find this class in the standard library. So in Java, what you need to do with that is you need to use an import statement, and that goes out above the class. As you can see, I'm up above the class. So above the class, outside of it, you must import the classes you want to use. So as you can see, we'll go import java.util.scanner, and again, you'll notice that scanner is indeed capitalized. So this is giving me kind of an error because it's never being used, but that's okay. So as you'll notice, imports the java.util.scanner class. So we have the Java, basically that's the standard library, and then you go .util, and that's kind of the sub library within the standard library, .scanner, and then the scanner is actually the object we are calling. So if you wanted to call everything in the java.util library, kind of, you can go with this asterisk and it'll just give you everything. But at any rate, we'll just go scanner for this one. So then, when you have that, you need to actually create an instance of that class, which is the object. So we're going to create a scanner object. So when you do that, you go scanner, because that's the name of the class you're utilizing, and then you're going to name the object you're creating. And usually the way I learned it, it doesn't really matter what the name is, you just have to remember it, and it has to make sense. The way I learned to do it is to go my scanner. I mean, it doesn't really matter, you can just call it whatever. And then you have to equal new, keyword new, and then scanner, and then you put these little parentheses, and that'll show you what arguments. So for the scanner arguments, we're going to need system.in. You're going to pass this stuff basically into the scanner object. That's basically what that means. So then it's giving me another error because I'm never using the myScanner object. So now we have a new object. And as you'll notice on both of these, you do need the ending semicolon thing. So then we're going to use the myScanner object. So the way we can do that, again, the myScanner object is used for taking an input. So the way you're going to do that is you're going to use the myscanner.next something. If you're taking in an integer, it'll be next int, like that. Or if you're taking in a double, it'll be next double, like that. Or if you're taking in a string, now this is the tricky one. The other ones make sense, but if you're taking a string, you need to go next line. So as you can see, this code actually, what this is going to do is it's just going to take input from the user, but it's not going to do anything with it. So one thing you can do is you can go system.out.print or print line, ln, print line. And what this is going to do is it's going to print. Now the difference between print and print line, print will keep the cursor on the same line when it prints to the console, but print line will go to a new line. So we'll just go show you print line. So in this case, what you'll do is you can either just directly put in myscanner.next whatever. In this case, I'll go string, I guess, just because I don't know what I'm going to be typing in, and you have to put the little parentheses. In this case, we're not passing in any arguments, but then you can go there. Next, not string. Man, I just messed up. Next line. I apologize. So you can just immediately do that, and then this is still giving me Resource leak. My scanner is never closed. Oh well, we'll talk about that later. We don't really need to do anything with that now since we're not really doing anything with that. But at any rate, if you were going to go ahead and run that, see, as you'll notice, nothing is printed onto the screen because I didn't print anything. It's waiting for me to put some input in. So if I was going to say print this line, there you go. See, the scanner will then print this new line. But that's not very user-friendly for whoever's using the program. And again, we're not doing anything with like user interface right now, so I mean it's not such a big deal. But a lot of times what people will do is they'll send out like a notice saying input a line to copy. I don't know. And then, oop, my bad, I deleted the wrong thing. So as you'll notice, I did have to put a space in here, or else when I ran it, it would just make me type right from the end of the line. As you can, it's not letting me type, but so as you'll notice, I also made this just print, so it'll be on the same line, and I'll show you the difference there. But then what they'll do is then they can take the system.out.print line and then do the myscanner.next line. Oops, put in an asterisk. Or what you can do is, I talked a little bit about variables earlier, so what you can do is you can create a string variable. String copy equals nothing right now. We'll just keep it blank. There you go. I'm not gonna like it. Never uses copy. So then what people will do is they can go copy equals and then assign whatever is coming in. So myscanner.next line. And you have to make sure it is a string. It has to be the same. And it's still not being used. So what you can then do is you can print the whatever's in copy just by putting copy in there. Oops, there we go. And there you go. So we can save it and run it. So then as you can see, it input a line to copy. So if I was to copy, I am so awesome. I don't even know. It will print out I am so awesome, but it doesn't show you in the console, but what it has been doing is it assigned that value to copy, and then you took copy and printed it out. So now if I wanted to use copy for something else, I could. I can't think of anything off the top of my head right now, but I could use it. Another class that's used a lot is the random class. And what this does is it allows you to create a random number. So if I was to import java.util.random, and again, the random is capitalized, you have to come down here. Here, we'll create another variable real quick. An integer. And we can call it int. As you can see, you have to do the type integer and then name it random int equals 0 for now. We'll just initialize that at 0. So again, we're not using that ever. So we're going to come down here and create a random object. And again, we're going to do a little bit of a memory leak, but that's okay. So we're going to go random again. Class type, it'll be random, and then you have to name it, and again I just call it my random usually, equals new random, and this time you don't have to pass in anything. Now we can actually utilize the random. So what we can do is, again, you can assign it to the integer variable that we created up top. Integer, we'll just call it integer. There we go. And what you do then, okay, sorry, I'm just organizing my thoughts here. All right, so we're going to use the myRandom object. So in this case, since we're not taking in any values from the user, we don't have to actually use the scanner, but we could, and we could say, well, how much do you want to, or how, what number, between what numbers do you want it to be like generating, you know? We could do something like that, but in this case, we're just gonna go ahead and generate a random number, say 1 through 10. So what we'll have to do is, to assign it to the random int, so you can go random int equals, again, you're gonna go object name, in this case myRandom, and then you're gonna go dot next, and in this case, since we're generating an integer, you can go integer, but if you wanted to do a double, you can go net double. So next int, and then you'll have to say between what the kind of how many numbers it should generate. So if we wanted to do 10, you can go 10, but with computers, Java, you know, it starts at 0. So in this case, it'll go 0 through 9. So if we wanted to do 1 through 10, you'd have to add a 1 onto the end of it to increase the value. So it'll generate a number 0 through 9, my apologies. So if you get like 5, it'll give you 5. But then in reality, okay, so let's change that. If you get a 0, you could increase it to 1. So now you have it between 1, and if you got a 9, you would increase it to 10. So between 1 and 10 now instead of 0 and 9. But that only works if you're assigning it to a variable. If you just printed a random number to the screen, it would still have to be, well, no, you could do it like this. Oops. And then 10, and then you can add 1. I believe that should work, but I'm not going to try it just because I don't know. So there's that. Oops. There we go. And then we do want to actually print this to the screen, so we're going to go system.out.println, and then you can go random number. So yeah, I don't think actually what I did before would actually work, so ignore that. And then you can go add a value. That is not adding value to the string, because this is a literal. I guess it's technically adding value to it, but it's adding, and then you can do the random int variable, and we have to end that. So as you can see, random number will generate, and then it'll put a space, and then it'll put the value in the random int. So there it is, and then we can just save it, run it, and as you can see, input a line to copy. We can just copy real quick, and then it'll copy it, and then as you can see, it'll output a random number. So in this case, we got 8. So what it actually did was it generated a 0 through 9 number, and it got 7, but if we wanted it to be 1 through 10, it actually got 8. So there we go. So that's pretty much it for this video. I just wanted to show you that kind of stuff real quick. Thank you very much for watching, and hope you come again next time.